Today, when couples tie the knot, they know that the odds are high that they'll end up in Splitsville someday. If the current trends continue, the divorce rate in North America will soon reach 50%, yet it's estimated that more than half of those divorces could be avoided.
But how can you rescue those rocky unions? Well, a good way to start is by recognizing and avoiding the 10 deadly sins that contribute to turbulent marriages.
And who better to explain those sins than our go-to guy when it comes to relationships? Social worker Gary Direnfeld outlines them in his new book, Marriage Rescue. Gary, we don't have time for all 10 here, but give us some of the highlights when it comes to the deadliest sins.
Well, these 10 deadly sins, how do we parent, how do we co-parent together? How do we deal with the in-laws? Who cleans the toilet? You know, believe it or not, that is a deadly sin. Drugs, alcohol, violence. Do we want kids? Whose kids? Your kids? My kids? Which kids? These are all issues that impact relationships, impact marriages that I speak to in my book.
And yet you'd think that some of these things would have been dealt with before they actually tied the knot.
You would think, but the truth of the matter is very few people actually have those meaningful conversations taking place before the marriage. They think that somehow magically being in love conquers all. The truth is, love does not conquer all. We do need to manage conflict. We do need to manage these 10 deadly sins.
So can we actually blame women because they're the ones, I think, who go into a marriage and say, I can change him, I can make him the husband that I want him to be?
So it was that Tom Cruise, Renee Zellweger movie.
Right.
I'm married, I like him for the man he could become. I certainly don't recommend that to men or women. Don't think of your partner as an investment. What you see is typically what you get. Can you live with that? However, after the fact, how do we make these diamonds in the rough shiny again? And so that's what I speak to in the book. And a lot of that starts with taking personal responsibility.
How do you have meaningful conversations? If you want to have that conversation, how do you bring that up? And how do you bring it up in such a way that you're not hurting the other person just by the idea of, look, we've got to sit down and talk. This is serious stuff. How do you go about doing that?
Well, first of all, there's nothing wrong with saying we have to sit down and talk.
Later, we'll talk later, someone will say, or not right now, I don't feel, I'm not, I don't want. You're going to get all kinds of excuses for someone who doesn't want this conversation.
Right. Nonetheless, we have to go there. And there's no such thing as good timing for a tough conversation. And that's something I have to really impress upon a lot of people, that you still have to raise the issue. Sometimes the best place to do that, maybe in the car, you can't escape each other, or go to a Tim Hortons or your local coffee shop and over a cup of coffee say, you know what, we need to discuss this. The benefit of being sometimes in a more public place is it forces you to be civil and chat nicely with one another, or simply do it over breakfast one morning. But you do have to raise these issues, and it's not raised in such a way that we're trying to blow our partner away. We're trying to raise it saying, look, I need to chat with you about something. I'm hurt, I'm sad, I'm worried, I'm upset. Can we discuss this?
You know, Gary, 80%, according to the stats, 80% of divorces are unilateral. That means one member of the couple dissolves the union. But is divorce generally the fault of just one person? I can't see that. It takes two to tango, right?
That's right. So let's differentiate between who initiates it and the underlying issues. And so usually the underlying issues are joint. Having said that, it isn't always 50-50. Sometimes it's 60-40. Sometimes in abuse situations, it could be 100% one, 0% the other. We don't blame the victim when the bus pops the curb and hits somebody. These things happen too.
Gary, a lot of times in relationships, one of the two will discuss things about their in-laws or the other's children, for example, that's going to put the other on the defensive. You don't like my family. You don't like my kids. You like your kids more than mine. How do we avoid that? And is it good that maybe you get those people involved in the conversation? If you've got a beef with the mother-in-law, for example, do you bring the mother-in-law in and say, look, we're having an issue here, so it doesn't seem like one side's attacking the other one?
Actually, you have to be careful about that. It's not a matter of bringing the mother-in-law in. It may be a matter of helping that mother-in-law's child, be it the husband or the wife, to set a boundary with their parent such that their parent doesn't intrude on their space as a marital couple. And that takes a lot of discussion. And it may be difficult for a person whose parent has been quite involved for the entirety of their life to finally say, we've cut the umbilicus. We're no longer connected. I've left home. We're maturing. Now we're setting our own family. Please allow us to do so.
Gary, we know that the children of divorced parents are more likely to divorce themselves down the line. Should parents stay together for the sake of the kids? I mean, if you can sort of put up with the other person, if it's not, you know, a knockdown, drag them out type of breakup, should you stay together so that your kids have a better chance?
You know, it's not should we stay together for the sake of our kids. We really do have to consider, what can I live with? What can I tolerate? And it's seldom quite as equivocal as that. People have to worry about abuse situations. People have, and not just physical, emotional, psychological, financial, social, recreational. There's all sorts of ways to abuse people. So staying together for the sake of their kids may actually embed their children in very toxic, dysfunctional situations. However, rather than thinking of separation as your first line of defense, for goodness sakes, go to counseling, get some therapy, and address these matters there first. You want to make sure that you've tried to do everything that you can do before you just toss your relationship away.
Or you could go out and get Gary's new book, Marriage Rescue, or you could just go to yoursocialworker.com and get all the information you need, such as Gary's co-parenting workshop next Thursday, the 21st of March. Right, Gary?
I appreciate the bump.
Gary Direnfeld, always a pleasure.
Thanks, Gary.
Take care, guys.